Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Honest to Blog episode of No Highway Option. It's a podcast about cinema in which we watch films and answer the one question that can be applied to every film. Is it better or worse than Vin Diesel's 2005 seminal masterpiece, The Pacifier? I'm one of your hosts, Connor, and my favorite thing in Juno's room is Hamburger Phone.
And I'm your other host, Luke, and my favorite thing in Juno's room is Buddha's dick.
And we have a special guest with us today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Kevin Hughes Jr., and my favorite thing in Juno's room was that weird poster she had where there was a heart in the middle and then like this sperm-looking thing that's moving towards the heart on that poster. That was my favorite thing and probably the only thing I really remember from Juno's room. Thank you. My name's Kevin Hughes Jr., named after my father.
I love how you bookended that like it sounded like you were just coming in for the intro and then gonna leave right after. So the entire episode's like special guest, one thing. In case you couldn't tell by us saying her name 3 times, the movie today, suggested by Ali Severide, is Juno from 2007. What was that?
It's Beetlejuice. It was a bad joke. That did not work.
I don't understand how it was. Oh,
you
we said
the name 3
times. Right? Okay, I get it now.
I've dropped my notebook 3 times.
Anyway, Juno 2007, I believe it's our first Oscar-winning film that we've discussed on this podcast. Because it was nominated for, I believe, 4 awards, and it won Best Screenplay.
Oh. That's, interesting.
It was nominated for Best Director, Best Picture, and Best Actress, but it lost Director and Picture to No Country for Old Men, and Actress, Ellen Page lost to Marion Cotillard for La Vie en Rose.
Bogus.
Yeah,
because this movie is on Ellen Page's back.
Speaking of which, is Ellen Page America's favorite Ellen now?
I think she has been a while yet.
But, I don't know, I feel like just within the past year in general, people have, like, suddenly just turned on Ellen DeGeneres and been like, I
think it goes back and forth. Because one thing I was reflecting on a lot during this movie is, like, Ellen Page kind of evaporated. You know? She has done stuff here and there. You know, she did this and she did Inception, and then that game with Willem Dafoe, which I have feelings on that I will not bore you all with. Because I know that it's not your thing.
Murdered Soul Suspect that's constantly on sale on Steam?
Yeah. Wait, what did you...
I said Murdered Soul Suspect
on
Steam.
Beyond Two Souls.
I thought it was like the like Weight Rain or whatever. Heavy Rain.
No, that one is another game like it. It's like that same style. It's a very much like you make choices and it's story based and.
Well, and Ellen Page did a bunch of stuff in the X-Men movies because she was Shadowcat. Which
I'll be no help here.
Which was cool.
But like how it's been a couple of years since we've seen anything from her.
Umbrella Academy was just last year and it's coming back in a week or 2. Yeah, she's a big part of it.
I still have not seen it.
I have not heard of it until
it's an
I was
entertaining
today
show.
years old.
There's a guy who just is like a big triangle for most of it, and you're like, haha, that man's a triangle. Then at one point he rips off his shirt, and it's like, oh, he's a big triangle because he literally has a gorilla torso.
Triangle man.
It's pretty fun.
We love the triangle.
Do either of you have any history with Juno? Did you see it before this?
I saw it back when 2007 or 2008, sometime around then, high school times. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it.
I did not see it before yesterday, so it was a fresh showing for me.
I remember seeing it around 7th or 8th grade, 2007, 2008, when it came out, and liking it, not being like all up in the hype for it. But then in like the time between then and now, mostly during like high school, was when I found like the shitty poke plot holes and everything YouTube film critics. Like, specifically, I think the Nostalgia Critic made a video where it was like, is Juno actually good, or was it just quirky and we were destined for something different? And so, for a couple years, I was like, oh yeah, that's that movie with the cringe dialogue and twee music that, like, is stupid. But coming back to it, this is great.
Yeah. I think you hear about that a lot. A big critique of this movie is, like, the dialogue is not the way humans talk for the most part. But I think it works for this. I think, like...
It's only a few characters, too.
Yeah, but one of them is Juno.
Well, yeah.
It was very Gilmore Girls-y when it came to dialogue. Like, it makes sense in the context of a small town, I think, where everyone kind of knows each other. So there's this kind of punchy back and forth. Because there was this, kind of bitey, zesty back and forth between all the characters. It was there were no real monologues. It was very back and forth dialogue.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And do we want to start doing the beat by beat breakdown?
Sure.
Analysis thingamajig?
Yeah.
All right, so the movie opens up about Juno monologuing about how much she loves the chair that Michael Cera had sex with her in. It's a great chair, apparently. Looks like a good chair.
The whole living room set on the lawn thing. I know that they bookend the movie with the chair, but I didn't really feel like I ever got it explained to me why all that shit was just out of the house.
I think someone was selling it.
Or throwing it away. Even so, I feel like everything else in the movie was quasi-contextualized, and I feel like that was the only thing that really needed the contextualization that the rest of the movie was treated with. So I'm with you there. When the movie was like, and it ended with a chair, I was like, it's a rocking chair. It's not even the same chair. It's just a chair in a room where other relevant things are, like Vanessa and the baby, spoilers, and and that picture frame with the note in it.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's a dog that she calls Banana. Whose dog is that?
God, I was let down by the fact that Banana was not a greater part in this motion picture.
I thought it was her dog, but then later Allison Janney is like, you're allergic to dog saliva, so I can't have a dog. So I'm like, whose dog is that?
I didn't remember... I remember this movie. I remembered liking this movie. I remembered, like, the relationship, that obviously we end on a positive. Obviously there is a baby at the end. And that's, like, the bulk of it. And so when that dog popped up, I was like, oh, cool. In the same way that Kevin was. And then I was cheated.
You just thought there would be dogs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was a dog at the end, like stepmom Bren, I think her name was, and she was great. We'll get there. But at the end, Bren was holding a dog on their porch or on their front lawn when Juno comes out of the house with her bike, and it wasn't like she lives at that other house that she goes to meet Michael Cera at. It looked like she was just going over Bleeker's house at the very end. But there was a dog, and suddenly, I'm not an expert on women's health by any means, but does pregnancy and childbirth affect a woman's immune system in that kind of a way where it can get rid of passive-ish allergies? I do not know the answer.
I took it as just they
went
found a way to live with the dog. Maybe Juno was like, I still want you to have this thing.
Mm-hmm. She wanted to be out of the house more.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a very specific breed of dog that just doesn't generate a whole lot of spit. And so, maybe it was just, family came together with this salivaless dog and everything was fine. It was, again, one of those things that didn't make a whole lot of sense, with whatever the build-up of the movie had been prior. I mean, again, this movie is great. I really enjoyed it and would gladly see it again anytime. But that was one of my little things that stuck out as kind of a nitpick.
That's an understandable thing. Right after this, we get the little paper cutout, somewhat stop motion animated intro, which is fun. Soundtrack kicks in, and I'm like, oh, that's right. When my sister handed me down her old iPod, this was on it. So I remember these songs way too well.
I was not in love with the soundtrack, and I know that is like, that's the thing.
It's hipster indie bullshit, but
yeah,
I like hipster indie bullshit. It
works very well for the movie, but I personally did not like many of the songs.
I come from probably more Luke's side on this one because I didn't have a prior exposure to this type of music ever in my entire life, and so like it was decent and chirpy and a little droning, but I found that the non-diegetic music was a bit more, I don't know, like it hung around a little too long. It was a little too vocal. It was a little too there. I thought that like the opening animation where it looked like paper cutouts pretty much, I thought that was an excellent time to have a vocal heavy non-diegetic track play. I'm sad that they didn't use that animation style more frequently. Like, for instance, maybe whenever Juno did one of her internal monologues about another character, like they could have cut into that. I would have enjoyed seeing that, I think.
It's because they had to loan it out to Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. This does play around with styles that like just randomly cut away, and it's kind of sad it can't pick one. I know what you're talking about, like how
That's
later
exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
She's describing like the girl that the jock likes, and it's like a jump cut live action woman, but like stuff's getting replaced. Like if it was the paper cutout thing, that might have given it more of a little sense of style, I guess.
I certainly agree. But yeah, so I guess that's my ruling on the soundtrack. Was it was decent. It was great when it was diegetic, but non-diegetic, it could have been subtler, I think.
And for those who don't know, diegetic means the music itself is happening inside the film, and non-diegetic means the characters can't hear it, it's just on the soundtrack. Right? Did I mix them up, or is that right? Okay,
no,
good.
You got it.
I'm always scared I mix them up. John Malkovich produced this. It's just a random thing. He's a good actor, and he produced this. Then we get the scene in which Juno goes into the convenience store to get a pregnancy test. We get Rainn Wilson as Cashier Rollo, who kind of gets every weird line that everyone remembers from this movie. Like, third test today, Mama Bear, your ego was prego.
It
ain't no Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah,
it's
I
not a
was
doodle
for
that
it.
can't be undid, Homeskillet.
When he called her Fertile Myrtle, I almost fell out of my chair. I adored it.
He's definitely something. It's weird that he just is in that one scene. I feel like they were setting him up for something, and then it was just like, nah, he's just weird guy.
Something got lost in the rewrite.
I liked when he asks her about the pregnancy test, and she says it's not seasoned yet.
Yeah, that had some peak banter, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she, after her third pregnancy test, she does find out that she is indeed pregnant. She goes home and makes a Twizzler noose for herself, and then bites her way out of it. Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow she doesn't have heartburn from drinking all that Sunny D. It's like, that was like when you watch the eggs in Rocky and you watch them when you're a kid and you're like, oh yeah, man, he's getting strong. And then you watch him when you get older and you're like, ooh. That's how I felt watching her drink a gallon of Sunny D. Was like, oh man, you're going to lay down all of tomorrow.
It wasn't the heartburn for me. It was, I don't know, Sunny D would always like do something weird with my teeth. It would make my teeth feel weak, if that's a thing.
I know, I love Sunny
like,
D, but like in smaller doses.
Sunny D can only be drank in moderation, a safety from no highway option.
But I guess if you're 16...
if you're a 16-year-old, you can pretty much do whatever you want to your body, and it's just going to be like, this is part of what life is preparing me for. Like, So I didn't give it a second thought that she was, forcing herself to drink an insane amount of orange juice.
Of sunny delight.
Quite.
Juno calls her friend Leah on her hamburger phone, it's great. It's a phone that looks like a hamburger.
Leah had pretty strong Princess Diaries friend vibes.
Yeah, but Princess Diaries friend, but trying to turn that into the popular girl, and I don't know how well that works as a popular girl.
Yeah, it was weird. Everyone was like just adjacent to a real thing, and that worked for me.
Mm-hmm. This definitely doesn't feel like it's set in a real world, but it's a good world.
Yeah.
I guess.
Depending on who you are.
Yeah. Weirdly, Juno references the one Morgan Freeman murder mystery movie where he's after the bone collector. I think it's Along Came a Spider. I don't know which one it is. But I was like, that's a weird pull.
I feel like there were definitely many notes throughout this movie that were a product of their time and probably hit well better for an audience closer to the time of release.
Yeah, about that 13 years ago.
Right.
The Morgan Freeman line just went completely over my head.
I didn't know that it was tied to a specific movie. I thought it was just a thing she was saying.
I know the Bone Collector is some murder mystery thing because there was like an NBC show where it was like after the Bone Collector recently, because every time a promo for it would show up, I would just laugh my ass off because I was like, it's just a man who collects bones. Leave him alone. Everyone needs a hobby. Leah is the one who says honest to blog, which is kind of one of those like, it's so bad, it's good, but then it's bad again, but then it's good again. It's like an endless cycle of like, I can't tell if I like this or hate it.
Oh, I liked it because, young persons are supposed to be very, into their own slang. And she said it so effortlessly that, my brain didn't like latch onto it and be like, oh, typical young female. It's just like, yeah, man, that's probably something I would say if I were that age at that time.
Yeah. It was a lot of it weird, not real sounding dialogue stuff, but it established this world of this movie and these people.
Mm-hmm. We get the reveal of Michael Cera as Paul Bleecker, just like him getting ready to go out running, never showing his face, which is that's just a funny reveal. I don't know why.
Imagine
I was
getting knocked
the
out
entire time
by Michael Cera.
The movie like says that too, basically. Just like, this guy. J.K. Simmons later being like, I didn't know he had it in him.
Yes, of
they
course. How do we forget Farmer's Insurance Dad?
At one point, Paulie Bleecker says wizard. Is that slang for cool in like a Midwestern state or something?
What?
Because this does take place in Minnesota. I don't know. Juno says something to him, and he's like, yeah, that's pretty wizard.
I don't know. It might just... you could probably chalk that up to the same kind of stuff.
It's possible. So Paul gets the news that Juno's pregnant, but she's like, don't worry, I'm going to get rid of it. And then in their lab, they get paired up with a couple, Amanda and Josh.
Not until after 100 balls.
100 dicks were flopping around. It's seared into my mind.
I didn't remember it.
I might have not been looking at the screen for that moment.
Because she made that joke about it, and then they were like, time to focus.
Oh, that's right. The dicks in his shorts.
Just yellow shorts, and you can see like the cock imprint just bouncing.
Yeah.
And
I would like to know what the extra call for that shot was.
Must have visible dong.
Yeah.
Just cock run, take 23, marker.
I mean, there's probably like something on IMDb Pro where you can like, all right, who actually listed their dick size? And okay, there we go. They get paired up with Amanda and Josh, who are a couple, and they're fighting like an old married couple.
Yeah, I thought they were hilarious.
No, they were great. I wanted them to come back too. There were so many like one quick characters that I wanted back, just for like some type of resolution. Steve Randazzo doesn't really get any resolution. She's just like, he wants me. That's it.
Are we still talking about laugh. Caroline from the Vampire Diaries, who was also a redhead in Juno?
Huh?
Is that the girl who was the lab partner?
I'm 90% sure the girl who was the lab partner in Juno was Caroline from the Vampire Diaries, and that's all I was trying to figure out through that entire scene.
I'll be honest with you, I've never seen any of that.
Yeah, it's never been my cup of tea.
They say no man's an island.
I like the line. Josh apparently went up to visit his brother in college, so Amanda thinks he cheated on her. She screams, you cheat on me just because you had 4 Smirnoff Ices and a bottle of Snow Peak peach-flavored Boons, which is apparently the best flavor of Boons. Juno reveals that she got abandoned by her mom at age 5, but gets cactuses from her every year. So now her dad, J.K. Simmons, is married to Allison Janney, and that's one hell of a pairing.
Yeah, I love both of them every time.
They're great. They're two actors who I think I can confidently say I don't think I've ever seen them be bad in anything. They're always like, even if the movie sucks, they're always like, oh shit, that's who I came to see.
Right.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when they were first introduced, I was a little pensive, I think, because I was like, which way is this going to go? Because they are strong actors, and I feel like the rest of the movie kind of wasn't very anchored. So I was like, where's this going to go? Because like they kind of command the scenes that they're in, which indeed was the case with Juno. But I'm sure we'll get there when we get there.
We get just her stepsister is named Liberty Bell.
Yeah. What?
Sure she is. That's this world. That's how it goes. This is Juno's world, and we're all living in it. Juno goes to the abortion clinic and meets Sue Chin, who
what is she from? The girl who played Sue Chin. Why did she look so familiar?
I don't know.
That's what you meant. You said, where is she from? And I was like,
No, that actress.
I like how she's saying all babies want to get born.
Yes, that was a nice touch.
Made me laugh. She mentions that her baby, Juno's baby, probably has fingernails at this point, which is kind of just a throwaway thing at first. Juno goes inside. I guess this is just an afterthought from when I watched this as a 7th grade dweeb. I always just wanted to know what the receptionist was playing on her DS Lite.
I wanted to know that as well.
I was just always curious. I'm like, can you like show us behind her head just so we can see like, oh, okay, that's Kirby, moving on.
But she was hitting those buttons furious, something furious. I was really wondering what that could have been.
Trying to, I can't think of
maybe some sort of Mario Kart where you have to like, I don't know, hit the B button and
maybe
A button
Mario
to
Party.
Drift.
Alone in the office.
Yeah, Mario Party DS.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh yeah, it was fun. It was like the last good one, I think. Or no, 8 came out after it. Never mind, 8's good. This isn't going to turn into a Mario Party discussion. The receptionist offers Juno a boysenberry condom, makes her boyfriend's balls smell like pie.
I wrote down pie junk because it was funny, and then Juno said pie balls later, and she beat me to a better joke.
Yeah, you were like, oh wait, this is funnier.
Yeah.
Man, it's almost like a professional screenwriter. But the fingernails is actually finally what gets to Juno. She notices everybody around her has fingernails and is doing stuff with their fingernails. So she's like, I'm gonna have the baby and give it up for adoption. Which, I thought that was neat. I thought that was a good way do it.
See, I didn't even pick up on that because the Foley was everyone was like scratching something, and I was like, wow, she's just so grossed out. She decided not to go through with the abortion because everyone else in the clinic was so gross.
Yeah. I think it was all of it. Because when she comes back, she rattles all that off. She's like, oh, man, all the magazines were bad, and everybody there was weird, and the baby has fingernails.
I feel like they go through the want ads for adoption. I feel like there could have been more comedic potential with that, but that's just me. They kind of just, like, read through two weird ones, and it's like, here we go. Mark and Vanessa, who are Jason Bateman and Jennifer Garner. They seem great.
I don't know about that.
But, like, on paper they do.
Yeah. No. When they were going through the penny saver, I mean, the first thing I thought was, like, obviously, why is Leah in the penny saver to begin with? But, like, I don't know. She's got a whole weird... She's into the teachers, and it's good that she's in this movie and not running with scissors.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But then, this was the first time that I really wrote down, I was like, man, Juno is just a dick. And, like, it's funny. It's funny in the same way that, like, I mean, I guess Chandler's not the best example, because, like, some of his jokes are good for everybody. But a lot of the time that they're just, like, ripping on everybody all the time.
I mean, she's got the teenage snark where you're like, I'm invincible, I'm on top of the world, everything is great about me.
Yeah. So a dick.
Yeah.
Point, counterpoint.
We find out that Paul Bleeker's mom calls him puppy and just hates Juno.
Yeah.
Yes, I loved the decorations in his room.
His room has not changed in 10 years. Like, he still has a 6-year-old boy's room as a 16-year-old Michael Cera.
It was interesting. Every teenage room looked like, yeah, that's really a teenager's room. The different flavor of it. You have Juno with her, that's a Liger paintings and all of her weird shit. And then Leah's looked like very much what hers would.
Pink.
And yeah. And then Michael Cera's with all the space shit and the car bed. Like, yeah, I was for it.
Juno reveals to her parents that she is pregnant, and J.K. Simmons is kind of just deadpan the entire time, surprised. Allison Janney she's just really supportive, which I found really nice, because this could have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, as far, both of them, parents, as far as they go, they are mostly the way you'd want. Aside from J.K. in the beginning... It was a realistic amount of hurdle for him to cross, I thought, and I was glad that they didn't spend a bunch of time making them like, and then my parents disowned me.
Right. I do like how Allison Janney is straight up is like, have you considered the alternative? Like, asking, do you think about maybe abortion? And when Juno says, yeah, but I didn't go through with it, she's like, wow, you're such a little Viking.
Yeah. But when Farmer's dad said, "I thought you were a girl who knew how to say when," that was such an ice cold KO.
Yeah.
And also, I'm gonna punch that Bleeker kid in the wiener next time I see him.
Which I wish happened.
I wish it was just a ball tap.
I was waiting for it in the final hospital scene, but I'm like, that's gonna ruin the mood.
I knew we weren't gonna do it, but man. If you just put that soft hand on the shoulder and then just a punch to the dick, 10 out of 10.
Hand on shoulder, punch in dick. Now get me pictures of Spider-Man. That we meet Mark and Vanessa. There's an awkward scene with the lawyer because Juno is just full snark and they're like prim and proper. We don't want this to happen like this. They decide upon a closed adoption because Juno doesn't want to see the baby, doesn't want to know about the baby, kind of just wants it out of her life.
Jason Bateman is a wiener.
Mark sucks.
I mean, not
he got there. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's a shit situation that he handles very wrong. And also he sucks by the end. But that's hard. That whole thing, not with him and Juno together, that made me physically ill.
Same.
The rest of it, the adult relationship portion, these are two people who should not have been together.
Mm-hmm. It's tough, but like it's a weird. We can get to it more as the Mark stuff comes more prominent later. But like right now, Mark has a bunch of guitars and has his one man cave room, and is like rock and roll was the best in 1993, which I'm like, something about that sounds wrong.
That sounds like a weird pick. Wrong. I thought. The year I was born, though. Juno, she excuses herself to go to the bathroom, mostly to check out the house. But then when she's talking to Jason Bateman, she makes this comment about how now that she's pregnant, she has to pee all the time like a horse. And is that like a thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do horses pee a lot?
Yeah.
Oh.
Horses pee
I thought
a
you were
bunch.
going to be like, do pregnant women pee a lot?
I knew that one.
Yeah, haven't you ever
I don't know
heard
any
the
horse
phrase,
stereotypes.
Haven't you ever heard the phrase piss like a racehorse?
Yeah, but I thought that was because they held it up for the whole race and then they peed like a camel at the end.
Yeah, so she just has to pee a lot.
I don't know. You learn something new every day.
That is the perfect place to put the ad break. Alright, now it's winter. This is the season thing. I was kind of just like, okay, whatever, about... I didn't really get the whole thing with it.
That this movie follows the same structure of the first Last of Us game. Which was...
And I kept thinking that Ellen Page was Ellie.
I think she sued I don't know if she sued, but I think she had a whole thing about
the likeness
that
was close, yeah.
It was way too close, yeah.
And it was at the same time that other game she was doing, or close enough to it that one came out that they were salty about it. But also, Beyond Two Souls sucked. Sorry,
You
Ellen.
can have your own separate thing talking about Beyond Two Souls. I like how we start out with Paulie Bleeker and Kid runs up to him and he's like, "Did you hear Juno's pregnant? Did you hear it's yours?"
Yeah. That was a good bit.
A funny thing. Juno and Paulie talk, and he invites her to go donut that flick with the guy who has 18 kids, but she can't. Which, I'm guessing that's Cheaper by the Dozen too? They're referencing?
A classic.
Because if this came out in 2007, it would have been shot around 2005, and that came out Christmas 2005.
I mean, that's possible.
So
that movie is a classic, but also a tragedy, because there was no third movie.
yeah, I mean, they pitched it on The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah?
I forget, it might be David Lynch. It's some director is just a guest, and they're at Sundance, and he's like, "I'm going to make Cheaper by the Dozen 3 next." And he holds out a poster, and it's just Steve Martin standing in front of 12 graves.
That was one pitch of a sequel that I read to that movie, was like, all of the kids are adults now, and their lives are in different states of disrepair, and they have to get back together.
I mean, that might be... They are rebooting it for Disney Plus, I heard. So that might be it. I don't know. Leah says something to Juno about Taco Bell, and it kind of got me on a little tizzy of why do movie characters always emphasize the bell in Taco Bell?
Oh, I did not notice.
It's mostly this and Mean Girls. It's like, oh, do you want to get Taco Bell? And I'm always like, this doesn't sound right. There's something wrong. I don't know. They get Juno gets an ultrasound, and Allison Janney kind of goes off on the ultrasound technician for judging Juno.
Great.
It's a great scene.
That was a feel-good scene.
10 out of
Except
10
for when they
parenting.
started with the goo.
Oh my
They
god.
like squirted the goo right out of the stomach, and I went,
So,
It's like aloe.
this is another weird doctor thing that I have done. The ultrasound is horrible. Obviously not because I was pregnant. I had a liver thing one time, and so I got the ultrasound, and that thing that they push, it's hard, man. It's like someone found a rock outside, and then they put this like cold gel on you, and then they rub a hard rock against just all over, and it lasts a long time. And I was not prepared for it, because every time you see it in media, it's like, oh, it's such a sweet, tender moment. Look at his feet and his head. Oh my God, he's got tiny balls, you know? And it's just a really hard thing hurting your stomach.
And for you, the ultrasound technician was like, your liver's got tiny balls.
Thankfully, they did not say that.
We find out that Mark is a composer for commercials. Okay.
I like that moment where it
That's fun.
was Mark and Ellen Page like bonding over the Gibson guitar, and like they've got that common interest there. And I was really like, I could smell the third act twist coming, where
Right.
But like in the moment, I was like, it's so cool that he's not being a creep in this moment. He's like, hey, there's this young person that, you know, has something to learn about this that I could maybe, you know, surprise her with. It was like this like protege moment.
Yes.
And I really liked it, because like for just a minute, like this guy who totally could have been totally creepy was not. He was just a genuine dude who was like, music, right?
Yes.
And that was awesome. And then when they did the third act quote unquote twist, because we all saw it coming, like the
I like,
you know.
That's
yeah,
like,
the first
it's like
one
the
I
one
liked
thing
a lot.
I really remembered.
That first moment was nice, and then every other it had that uneasy
and it came from
twinge.
a weird moment too. It came from a moment of tension as well,
Right.
where she's up in the bathroom sniffing the wife's perfume, and he shows up while she's supposed to be in the bathroom, and like, you know, there's this weird moment of like, what's going on here, fella? And then it relaxes, like the tension is dispelled with this cool bonding moment that doesn't feel creepy anymore.
Yeah, that
You know,
whole
'cause it is
scene
his house.
all the way through the house worked out okay. I liked at the end something. This was like the biggest example of it, but you could see it a couple other times. I liked watching J.K. Simmons try not to laugh at what Ellen Page was saying.
A lot of times.
That sea monkey joke was the biggest one that I saw. And then there was and then that juxtaposed with like Jennifer Gardner not having the same experience with any of it. Very good.
She just wants everything
She
to
was
be
in a
perfect.
whole different movie.
Yeah.
Juno and Mark, they bond over rock music and who they believe the king of horror is.
That was another
Which-
cool scene that could have been really weird.
Right.
It made me really feel...
Yeah, it was cool that it started out with him as like almost an older brother, older cousin dynamic, where it's just like, this is someone who's technically like, I don't know, someone who I have to trust, and I do now, which is good.
But you don't even, because, you know, society kind of propagates this sort of feeling of, like, watch your kids around strange men, which, like, there's complete value to that sentiment, but, you know, I feel like the media uses it as a cheap shot kind of to generate its own tension out of that. And I don't know, I get sick of seeing that trope, personally, because, like,
Right.
I also don't want people to watch that and then look at me, a male figured-looking person, and, you know, get nervous about their kids around me, because, like, I'm more scared of their kids than...
Kevin's like a kid
So,
there.
They are disease factories.
yeah, and I don't really want to be near them unless they're, like, family. And, like, I know how to, like, interact with kids as, you know, like, on a babysitter level, because, like, I've done that. It's, you know, kind of a human experience, but at the same time, it stresses me out when, like, you know, there's this like, don't trust men around children sort of thing going in the media. I hate it. It's not.
It is
something I
weird
enjoy.
that Allison Janney plays Bren, her name is. Bren has a whole thing where it's kind of like, Juno, be careful around Mark. Married men and single girls can't be friends. And I'm like, that's a weird. That's like, I don't like.
I
that
would
as
offer
a
up that there
concept.
are very few situations where a 35-year-old married man can be casually friends with a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, I kind of took her thing as just as more of a generality of like married men and single girls can't be friends, but like especially in that case.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I think she saw something that Juno never really saw in it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I thought
also,
Bren was being an old school fuddy duddy. Like, I thought that was a moment to remind you that even though Bren and Farmer Dad was, they've been very, very supportive, they still have their kind of conservative-ish, like, parental stubbornness. I thought that was what that scene was about. And then when it turned it out that Mark was trying to hit on Ellen Page, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
What? Bren didn't have to be right.
And I think I want to believe that it isn't Mark's intent the whole time, because I think that it's scored that way, that it's more interesting to see that character develop if he's not a one-sided sinister thing. But it's more along the lines of like, I don't know, like he is very clearly in this place in his life, and he obviously wanted to be a rock star, and now he is here, and now he's in this marriage with this woman who probably, I mean, some of it seems like it was offered more out of stability than it was ever love, which is sad. It's horribly sad for Jennifer Gardner as well. But then I think that people get lost, and this is not in a like a entirely skeevy nature. I think you see the same kind of things in people that are stuck in a job way past the age that they feel comfortable in it, and then they start to see much younger people in it, and they become like hard and callous towards them, and it's because they've recognized a potential. Because at the end of the day, children have this like limitless potential. They can go any type of way. And I think that people who get stuck, sometimes they fixate on that. They hit that potential, and it heightens everything that's worse in their own life.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think Mark was definitely trying to rebottle his own youth that has passed him by for the sake of money. Because I mean, even
in a
Juno
completely unacceptable way,
him.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well,
it's an interesting.
I'm talking even separately from him preying on Juno in that scene. I'm talking just him as a character, predatory nature aside. That could have totally been sold to us as an audience without that pedophilia going on.
Right.
I think it was built there very organically, of him resisting. Like, he's not as into it as Jennifer Gardner as Vanessa is. He's he's more interested in bonding with Ellie, a young person whom he has got to know through extraordinary circumstances, and then he realizes that he still has a lot of that youth in him. He's not ready to be a father. That could have buttoned it up, and it would still have been awful that he's in this awful, I just bumped my mic, awful situation, where he's stringing Vanessa along. Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, Vanessa wasn't perfect either when she says, look at yourself, look at your rock and roll shirt, you look stupid. I was like, yo, dude, that's your husband.
The two of them are very much a marriage that feels like they got married because he got her pregnant, which, like, doesn't track.
That is interesting, though. I mean,
but like that's what it feels like. At least those stereotypical ones in media, where it's like the slacker and the popular girl.
I mean, I think that's possible though, because she cannot do this on her own. At least it feels very much that way.
And I think the interesting thing about Mark showing Juno all the stuff could be read as like he's excited to show excuse me, he's excited to show all of his interests to his future child, and like he's gonna get to re-experience them with new eyes.
And it could have been that.
Yeah, it was a way to try to look at it positive. There is a line that I liked of them talking about baby names, and he's like, Vanessa likes Madison, and Ellen Page goes, isn't Madison kind of gay? And I was like, you're one to talk, Ellen.
We're a few years ahead of the curve.
Yeah. There's talking, Vanessa thinks Juno might flake out on everything.
That was a nice setup for subversion. I like that.
And it sounded like it was payoff. It was from before they had another situation where it didn't work out.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. They had another kid who decided they wanted to keep the baby, or another person. I don't know if they specified it was a kid or not. We get a little thing about Paulie Bleecker having basically an addiction to orange Tic Tacs, and I was like, oh, I feel that.
They're the only good kind.
With any mint. I go through a tin of Altoids in like 2 hours, and that's when I'm trying to control myself. Mark and Vanessa want to paint their baby's room yellow, and Vanessa's like, these colors are different. He's like, they're the same color, and it's kind of showing their dynamic. But also, it's a bad idea to paint babies' rooms yellow, because that color makes people aggressive if they look at it for too long, so it will make your baby cry very hard. If you're having a baby and you want to paint a gender-neutral room, paint it a soft mint green. That is a calming color, and it will help the baby sleep. Sorry, I learned this whole color theory thing in like AP Psych in high school, and it has never left my brain.
Oh,
and,
I love it.
That was the one thing I was like, oh, that's why I hate the color yellow so much. I just don't. I don't like it.
I don't know. I didn't have that background with it.
Well, there's a little something for everyone there, isn't there?
Sorry about that.
No?
Juno and Leah are at the mall, and they see Vanessa playing with her friend's kid, and, like, she's actually playing with her. Like, she seems like she's a good mom, which is nice. There's a whole thing about talking to Juno's baby to make it kick. It's just a very sweet moment, and it kind of, right as it's about to tear down Mark's character, it kind of builds up Vanessa's more, which I like.
Jennifer Gardner does very well with this kind of character that's like
too wound up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Super wound up in these ways, and is also very like pretty, and could seem like you would really like have it all, but is also like wound up in these anxieties, but it's all the most well-intentioned, and you even see her do that in stuff that isn't as straightforward in comedy like this. Like, I saw a lot of that in Alias too.
I think you're the only one who watched Alias.
I recommend
it. If I
it.
watched it, I do not I do not remember it if I have watched it.
I think it's all on
but I
Prime
believe
right
you.
now.
But I agree with the Jennifer Garner being high-strung thing. Playing high-strung characters. I don't know if the woman is high-strung herself.
She has
Also,
that credit card. She's in
Okay.
with the dad in the commercial, you know?
Yeah. We
I would
move
just
on.
Oh, sorry. Just before we move on, I just wanted to mention, I think it was during the mall scene when Leah said the word milk tate.
Yeah.
And I I loved that. I loved hearing the word milk tate. Milk tate.
I'm just scared at how much that's going to come up in normal conversation now from you.
I'm just going to try and throw in the word milk tate anywhere, anytime I get the chance. I think I would milk tate that.
You're going to have to work on it, but I'm not surprised.
You're going to have to workshop the milk tate.
Spring comes, and we open with Mark writing a jingle for Brunch Bowl cereal, and we can stop the movie. I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, I forgot what the specific lyrics to it were, but I think he mentioned something about meat.
You gotta microwave it for some space of time, I think. So it's not like a cereal. It's like I am picturing like
Cereal was in the name, though.
Oh.
It was Brunch Bowl cereal.
Oh, well, maybe I biffed it there. I don't know.
We find out that Polly Bleecker is going to prom with Katrina DeVort. She smells like soup. Her whole house smells like soup, too.
That is the joke, man. That is the joke that has stood the test of time. I heard it starting again, and I was like, this is the point of the movie, man.
Yeah, I was there for it, too. I really, like, that joke hit something strong, because...
Well, because everybody's house smells like something.
And everyone knows someone whose house smells like soup.
Yeah. Juno mentions that Katrina gave her the stink eye during class, and it cuts to Katrina's face, and it's kind of just stuck like
yeah, this
that.
girl has had a stroke.
Pretty much.
Ooh.
So we get an argument between Bleecker and Juno about going to prom and who broke whose heart.
She told him to go to prom with that soup girl.
Yeah,
I was on Bleeker's side
It
for
kind of
that.
broke my heart. It's sad.
It is.
Like, I
It's
know
well
she could have
done.
thrown out the, well, you knocked me up card at any point, and, like, there isn't really a defense for that when it's you're the one who germinated in her. But, yeah, man, like, that was a rough scene. If I were Bleecker, I felt it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's an interesting character development thing for Juno throughout, where she doesn't take a lot of things seriously, and she is always riffing with the sarcastic jokes. And even in this relationship that she does care about more than other stuff, she can't connect those things. She can't just say, I like you, Bleecker, I want to be with you. Instead, she's like, I'm going to handle this baby thing, go to prom with her. Why don't you date her?
Go, keep cross-countrying.
So it is sad. But it's coming. The resolution is coming.
Yeah. Also, cross-country is just a funny sport for Bleecker to do, because it's like, it makes him an athlete, but it doesn't make him a jock. I like that.
Yeah.
So she goes back and talks to Mark. Mark shows her a comic called Most Fruitful Yuki. It's a Japanese comic about a pregnant superhero.
Definitely
it's
a hentai.
right? Yeah.
You know,
Okay, I think they're called mojins or dojins. Oh no, I'm trying to put the cat down and I dropped my phone, which I'm using, not to record, but by Astrid, to communicate with you guys and elsewhere in the world. But I'm back. I think they're called dojins. If they're magazine or comic hentais.
I'll take your word for it, because I don't want that in my search history. So,
but like, she's I don't know. She's a pregnant girl wearing a little skirt. Like, I don't know. The whole thing from beginning to end, when she went into that room that time, I was like, oh.
The fact that Most Fruitful is in the name, like, that's just a gross description.
Yep.
I didn't even put it together. I was like, oh man, Mark is regulated to the basement in that one music room. And like,
yeah, well,
it's an unequal thing. And then he was hitting
know
on a
if that's
16-year-old, and
right.
I went, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know if him being regulated to the music room in the basement is a Vanessa thing. I feel like that's a him thing, just like kind of not talking, just being like, okay, dear, sorry. Because, like, I don't know, I feel like Vanessa would be open to some compromise.
I don't know, I
don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's both of it there, because I think that they have that line in the beginning about how he gets that one room for his stuff. And Juno mocks him there with the, in your own house or whatever. But
yeah, you've got a long leash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in the same way that Mark is, like, throwing on the brakes and he's not seeing himself in this life because he wants to go out and he doesn't feel like he's finished whatever he's got to finish. Vanessa feels very much the opposite way. She sees this potential in him that she could, like, tame him, and she could make him fit. She could make this square piece fit into this round hole that is their relationship, and it's not working for anybody. And it's not necessarily... It's not like it's her fault in the same way that solely the relationship pieces and not the Juno-related pieces are not his fault. It's just these two people that it's not it. I don't know if it ever was it, but it definitely isn't anymore.
I think if Vanessa is at fault for anything, it might be, being possibly suppressive to her husband's interests, but it's absolutely Mark's fault for everything else in the relationship.
Exactly.
Of him not, speaking up, him not, him leading his wife on about, rearing a child together.
Right.
Adopting.
And that would be enough to make him the villain. Like, it establishes Vanessa as the villain, and then there's this nice snappy twist where all of a sudden you empathize with Vanessa this whole time because we've been along for the ride with the expectations of, this family's going to rear this child that everybody cares about. And then Mark is turning into an oathbreaker, which is something fundamentally, unhuman. I mean, it's a very human flaw, but at the same time, like, it's something that's abhorrent to everyone because no one likes someone who breaks promises.
And
that could have been enough without the sexual predator scene in the basement where he was like, well, why do you keep coming around?
Oh,
girl?
God. I thought I was going to yarn.
It's,
as soon as the dancing started, it's the close-up on the hand.
The slow dancing, just, it's bad, and Juno senses it's bad, and she's like, this isn't right, and Mark's like, I'm divorcing my wife. And
Honestly,
I'm moving out. I have a place.
The absolute worst series
the opposite
of
to
words
happen.
afterwards.
I expected Juno to get some sort of I can't have you, but I want you sort of, magnetism towards Mark. Kind of like what was set up before with Bren, when Bren was like, a young woman like you should not be around married men like them. And then, all of a sudden Juno sees herself relating to this man, relating, to someone who's put together, who has it all. I could totally buy that a young hormonal teenager could be attracted to someone who is older than her and want that. And then Mark, I could see Mark, she's like, show me how you danced with her at your prom, because she's still bitter about her prom, and then her putting her arms around Mark, and then Mark needing to shut it down. That's where I thought they were going to go with it, and they didn't. And I'm upset that they didn't, because I thought that could have been a bit more, and it could also talk about how Mark needed that sort of independence from all women, like if you really wanted to get there. But sorry, that was just my take, and I was just appalled by it. I and it felt jarring in this movie. It didn't seem like it was there, like there wasn't any telegraphed Mark's a pedophile.
I think it's just
I didn't feel
kind of telegraphing Mark breaking down. And, just him, it's weird with him. He sucks, though.
Yes, absolutely.
No doubt. No doubt.
And fully in that
this
camp.
guy, he sucks.
I'm just trying to say he sucked already before they made him a sexual predator.
I was glad. Yeah. I was glad that it wasn't reciprocated. I think that it could have been the way that Kevin's saying, it could have been fully Juno was on board, or it could have been what they did, fully Mark was on board for it. But I am glad that there wasn't any give and take of both of them and this sort of gross relationship. I was glad that someone had the power and someone was fully, what are you doing? This is gross. Why have you... this space that we've built together out of respect, why have you made it this?
Right.
And whoever that was, I was glad that there was one.
So after this, Juno runs out and hands Vanessa a mystery note. And then she goes home. J.K. Simmons gives a beautiful speech about people being happy together is weird and beautiful in a strange way. It was just a nice speech. Juno reveals to Paul that she's in love with him, which is nice. And then she has the baby. She screams "Thundercats are go" when the water breaks. Weird.
The socks that she's wearing to give birth are very silly, I thought.
They're like that, what's it called? That children's book that everyone said traumatized them, where the girl has all the stripes on her. The girl gets, like, the stripe disease, and she gets, like, a rainbow on her body.
I don't know that one.
I think it might have just... I forget what it was called. But, in the hospital, there's good dialogue of, like, why haven't they given me the spinal tap? And Allison Janney's like, doctors are sadists who like to watch lesser people scream.
Yeah.
Good lines. And she has the baby. It's a boy. Bleecker breaks a record at a track meet and then goes to see Juno. Neither of them see the baby. J.K. Simmons just touches Bleeker's shoulders and looks at him and then leaves.
Missed opportunity for a wiener punch.
Man, I laughed so hard at it, though.
Yeah.
I think it's because I was expecting the wiener punch and didn't get it. It was really funny.
I also thought it was wild. It was a very nice speech of, you know, we should be together and all this, the, like, reconciliation between Bleecker and Juno. But this is the coolest person you know, she said. Teenage Michael Cera is the coolest person you know.
To her, that's nice.
No, it's very sweet. I'm being
that.
curmudgeon-y for sure.
Vanessa gets to meet her son. It's very sweet. I just wrote, this ending is really sweet. Fuck you, Mark.
Yeah.
And then we go into the summer, where Bren has puppies, Bleecker and Juno are together, they sing the part-time lover, full-time friend song.
And Mikey is not a singer.
No, he's not, but, like, that's what you would expect a teenage guy to sound like who can't sing.
I thought it could have faded a little sooner.
They do linger on it a lot, but it's
a nice
moment.
It's
cute. Gives you time to walk out of the theater. Beat the traffic.
The theater was my living room.
Well, yeah, I know. And that's that. That's Juno. And do we want to move on to the criteria?
Hell yeah.
Even though we've discussed a lot of it already.
Yes.
For example, how's the soundtrack? If you remember from the beginning of the episode, I love this twee indie bullshit.
And I thought it fit the film, but it was not my type of music. I thought that there was one moment in the middle where I was like, oh man, this feels very like Bob Dylan could slip in here somewhere, and then I do not think that he did.
I wish he had.
I feel like Juno wouldn't like Bob Dylan until she got to college and would be like, oh wait, this is good.
I don't know, man. I think some of the older Bob Dylan could really be a Juno vibe.
Next up, where does the main actor land on the Dieselometer in terms of their performance with, like, the amount of charisma and charm and ability?
I think that Vin Diesel really, like, his delivery focuses very much on control of the situation, and kind of control and advisement of those around him. And his communication is never diminished or indirect, and I feel like Juno's communication was very frequently kind of diminished, wavering, indirect, you know, not in control necessarily, not driving the scene, but reacting to it. So not very Vin Diesel-y. Also, if I may make a point about the soundtrack, I just wanted to say that it kind of reminded me of like a dollar store Rushmore. But anyway.
Oh, this is trying to do a Wes Anderson thing really hard.
Oh yeah, yes it was. But sorry, please back to point 2. The dieselness of it.
Luke?
I put this as the first XXX film. In that, like I said earlier, a lot of this movie would not work without someone who is doing as much as Ellen Page did. She's carrying a lot of it, and she's cracking jokes, and she has this snark to her. She's running the board. And in that same way, who else do you know from that first XXX movie? You know, that whole
Ice
movie...
Cube is only in the sequel, right?
What?
Ice Cube is only in the sequel, right?
Yeah, Ice Cube was in the next one. But, like, that whole movie is on him. He is around, and he is this guy that they need. Like, he has this set of skills that works, and he is like kind of roasting people all around him the whole time in that same way. It fit really nicely in this one for me.
For me, it was a story that I heard from another podcast, Blank Check with Griffin and David, where apparently Vin Diesel has a microphone in every room of his house, just in case he wants to sing karaoke.
Rad.
He has like a speaker system and a microphone, and he can just like flick a switch and just start singing. So that seems like a quirky Juno thing to do.
It
That's what I'm
does.
going with. Did I like this as a kid, or would I have liked it as a kid? We kind of mentioned this in the beginning with our history of it.
Hell
I
yeah.
liked it, but didn't really get a lot of the stuff when I was 12.
How old? I would have been 14 or 15 the first time I saw it. I was all in.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, do you think you would have liked this, or?
Well, that depends on, I think different ages, to be honest. Like, had I been in college when this came out? Wow. All babies want to be born. If this came out when I was in college, I think I would have really enjoyed it, as I have now. In high school, probably, like if it came out and I watched it in high school, I probably think so. I still had some weird like social issues in high school that probably would have made me fixate on the wrong things in this movie.
Fair.
Understandable.
But altogether, I think I would have. Were I younger, and I don't think I would have got this movie because I had no taste as a smaller child, and my parents would not have let me watch this movie at all if I were, like 10 or so, even in 2007, which I wasn't. But this is, playing What If. My parents kind of locked me in the Bastille when I was growing up. So like, it's just a story about teenage pregnancy, the looming threat of abortion, a closed adoption. None of this would have really fit their criteria of something they would have let me have access to. Although I have watched things my parents didn't want me to when I was younger, thanks to the internet. Thank you, internet. No, it's probably not as a small youngin. So
I found out while I was watching this that I wasn't sure that my parents had seen this movie, and I guess that they had it and they really dug it, which, I mean, it is a good movie, so I was just like, I didn't think it was their thing, but my dad saw that I was watching it and that I had like my notepad out, and he was like, is this the first good movie that you were watching for this? And I was like, no, it's one of them. And he was like, I don't know how you're gonna compare these. And this was when I found out that he doesn't really know what the pacifier is as a criteria, because he's like, I don't know how you're gonna compare it to a video game movie.
Oh,
What
Are we comparing Juno to The Last of Us 2?
It's not. That's okay.
Don't get excited, Chris.
That's super weird. Oh yeah,
that's
former
a separate
guest
rant. I could
Chris
do it.
Is what has the director gone on to do? This is Jason Reitman, who's Ivan Reitman's son. He went on to do stuff like Up in the Air, Young Adult, Labor Day, Tully, and what was supposed to be released last week before getting delayed to next year, Ghostbusters
thing?
I
Afterlife.
am excited for
Didn't
that
he do
one.
Ghostbusters 2?
No. Ivan probably did, but Ghostbusters 2, Jason was a child.
Are we certain about that?
I'm 100% certain about that.
Whoever your viewer is that likes listening to keyboards is about to listen to some dank membrane keyboardage.
Shout out to
but-
shout out to Brains, Braun, and Corbin for that review. Just poking a little fun.
It was Ivan. I don't know what I was.
I mean, it's the same last name. How do we feel about Ghostbusters Afterlife with the one trailer that's released? I don't think they should be making Ghostbusters movies anymore.
I think it looks super fun, and I love Paul Rudd.
I love Paul Rudd too, but like, I don't know. I feel like the Ghostbusters are like the Ghostbusters.
We've already it's desecrated that with that movie, and not because there were lady Ghostbusters. Like, I didn't have any issue with that. I just thought it was like you could smell all the different writers on that movie. And
Oh yeah, the 2016 one's fine, but
weren't
like,
they
it kind
all
of
the
just-
Rick Moranis character? Wasn't that the thing?
That's definitely part of it. It also had the issue of modern studio comedies of way too much improv and not knowing when to let a scene end.
You know, I haven't seen it, so I can't fully.
You're not.
I
missing
saw
out.
it-
Actually, you are. You're missing out on one joke made by Gabe from The Office in the beginning when he calls the fence in front of this big wealthy home an anti-Irish security fence. I laughed audibly in the theater when I saw that. When I heard that.
That is a great joke and a great way to start it.
Nothing else compared for the rest of the movie.
I
don't know,
do. I love Leslie Jones.
That's what there's some good Leslie Jones doing Leslie Jones shtick that like got me in it. But
I
yeah,
thought it
I
was
don't know.
wonderfully cast. I just think they could have been directed to act more like human people, like everyman's. Like, you know, they had that was kind of the beauty of the original Ghostbusters. If I'm really going on this tangent, which I'll try and keep brief, is, you know, those guys were all overweight quasi-academics that were dubiously credited, you know, and they had interesting ghosts and engineering, and like that's all you needed. It was just them and their Chinese food trying to figure it out. And that wasn't what these ladies were. They were all, you know, peak of their field badasses, which was great, but there wasn't a whole lot of relatability on that level because they had their, you know, they had their super expertise rather than none of them being completely out of their depth. As
Right.
with, you know, Peter Venkman and Spengler and Aykroyd. Wait, he wasn't a Ghostbuster. What was his character's name? Stance. And
Chris
Eddie.
Hemsworth is very funny in it.
Yeah.
He has no lenses in his glasses, and they're like, "Why don't you have lenses in your glasses?" He's like, "They kept getting dirty." So it just got rid of them.
I'm sure that I will see it eventually.
It's on the Movies Anywhere that The Pacifier's on, because I got
no.
it for free for some reason. I just logged in one day and it was like, "Thanks for connecting to iTunes. Here's Ghostbusters 2016." And I was like, "All right, I didn't pay for it."
I got Wreck-It Ralph that way, but I feel very
Same.
differently about that film.
Yeah, if someone ever gives us Wreck-It Ralph, that can be a 4-hour
It'll
episode.
just be us debating it.
Heated battle. Is there anything as memorable in this as the Peter Panda dance from The Pacifier? For me, it was like just the opening Rollo scene, the Doodle that can't be undid, Homeskillet.
I stand by the soup joke.
I will never forget the Dick Flap running scene. Also, anytime Juno had a pipe, like she would just randomly throughout the movie
Yeah.
have a pipe, and I thought that
Yeah,
was
she just liked her
completely
pipe.
disarming. I loved that.
Yeah.
I hope Ellen Page kept that pipe. I hope she stole it from props. Like,
I wouldn't be
just a
surprised
good
if she
look.
did. She seems like that type. Who's the Brad Garrett or Carol Kane crazy side character that's very memorable in it?
Cashier Dwight from the very beginning.
I thought Leah was a strong contender, but J.K. Simmons, man, J.K. Simmons by default. I feel like he's my Brad.
I had a 3-way tie between Rollo, who's the Rainn Wilson cashier, J.K. Simmons, and Allison Janney as Bren. Even though Allison Janney and J.K. Simmons are kind of a little more major,
Right.
they're fun and memorable. Allison Janney makes any movie she's in better.
Yeah.
And last but not least, is there anything as batshit insane as the Sound of Music subplot from The Pacifier, which, in case you don't remember, is a one-scene subplot in which they discover that Seth, one of the boys that Vin Diesel is watching, has bleached his hair and has a Nazi armband in his locker. Everyone believes he's a Nazi, until 2 minutes later it's revealed he's just playing Rolf in a community theater production of The Sound of Music.
Which Vin Diesel then goes on to direct.
Yes. Yeah,
Masterfully.
That's a whole thing, and it's kind of only bought in with like 20 minutes left in the movie. It's a very
ties
late
everything
edition.
Oh, I love it. It's
Yeah.
just what that movie needed. Like, because The Pacifier is great because it's high melodrama, really, but it's so domestic in it, and it's just like that combination is the perfect storm. And I think the Sound of Music being kind of the crown jewel in the rest of the tiara of madness that is the pacifier. I thought it was a nice headstone, not headstone, but
gemstone.
I agree.
Let's go with that.
I didn't think there was anything as crazy as that besides Mark and Vanessa not ending up together. Because, just you would think.
There were no subplots, really.
Besides theirs.
How about naming your daughter Liberty Bell?
Yeah,
I thought that was cute. I would do that.
Also, LB has, I guess she has asthma. She has breathing medication. That's kind of the only thing that's mentioned about it. I guess that means asthma inhaler.
Could be an inhaler, yeah.
And finally, Luke, would you like to give your rating for this?
I gave it a mailbox full of Tic Tacs and 3 Buddha Dick light switches. It's really great movie. Still a really great movie. Not better than The Pacifier.
All right, Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I would give it a wholesome family out of teenage pregnancy. It could have been a narrative that went many different ways, and it chose to go a certain way. And even though stylistically it was kind of all over the place, narratively it was pretty tight as a whole. And I think that's great. So, yeah, definitely not better than The Pacifier, though, for just, a romp. It didn't know what it wanted to be as well as The Pacifier, I think.
I gave it 8 pairs of pie balls out of 9. And I think it's around the same level as The Pacifier. I felt the same joy and fun watching this as I do with that, just with different circumstances.
It is very difficult to compare the two.
It is. Well, that's kind of the challenge of this show.
I loved it. It was great.
It
just did not surmount The Pacifier for me.
That's fine. I'm not
it's a high
fighting
bar.
You on it. And so thank you very much for being on, Kevin. And now we're going to turn it over to you to play the Coming Attractions game, where Kevin has picked the next movie we're going to watch for this show. He's going to give us a series of hints, and we're going to try and guess it. Now, here's a fun side thing. Luke and I have a bet going on this, where we each have a movie we think you're going to pick. And if you do, and whoever gets it right gets to choose a movie for a bonus episode that they know the other person hates. And if we both get it wrong, nothing happens. Because it's our show. Who cares?
Connor, I think you're going to win the bet. Because, Luke, it's not The Great Dictator.
The Great Dictator was not the one that I picked. But when I was explaining this bet to Savannah, I was like, there's a slight chance it could also be The Great Dictator.
That
was in my head, but not the one I picked.
It's not. And I think... So I could subvert your expectations, because I did kind of expect this, and I have 2 potentialities, and I'm really kind of one of them will make Connor's brain melt with contempt, but the other I think is something that neither of you have seen, but I think I kind of want to go with my first reaction. So I guess I'll start with the trivia, and a lot of it to begin with is going to be production trivia to see if Connor can hone in on it right away. Mostly because I feel like it's a very iconic movie, and I feel like I can't get too deep into its descriptions before people are immediately aware of what it is. So Connor, don't look at me like that. So it was directed by Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. And it was written by Parker Bennett, Terry Runte, and Ed Solomon. And it was distributed by Walt Disney Studios through Hollywood Pictures, which I think is pretty great. So it was also lauded for its production design, physical effects, puppetry and modeling, and visual effects. It was the first film to use the software Autodesk Flame, which apparently got big in the industry after that.
Can I just ask a quick question about it?
Sure.
Have the actors talked about being drunk on set for a lot of it?
Yes.
Okay, continue. I want to.
So Connor knows exactly what it is now.
Did you win, Connor?
I think I won, but let's see.
Yeah, so we'll go on that point. Critics and some of the actors even hated the plot, which they just didn't get, but it's kind of developed a cult following now.
God damn it!
What year did it come out?
1993.
So, yeah, I think I won the bet. What is it, Kevin?
It's Super Mario Brothers.
Damn it!
Starring...
Although, I think this movie's a lot of fun, so I'm ready to watch it. Ugh.
Oh my. I'm sorry, Luke. I let you down so hard.
Luke's Lost Bet movie has been chosen, and the episode has been recorded, and it launches this Friday. The Friday after this episode comes out, it's a bonus episode on the 2007 Disney and Pixar masterpiece, Ratatouille.
All right, well, thank you for that suggestion, Kevin. Thank you for having me win the bet.
Wait, did we say the... I don't think we said what the movie was. Like, you and I know what it is.
He did.
Did we?
It's the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that we got it out there for the audience.
That'll be next week's episode with another special guest. And the bonus thing will come at some point in the future. We'll just put it on the books for at some point.
It'll happen.
Damn. I should have gone with Quigley Down Under.
Oh, man. Mine was not even on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my I need to subvert their expectations, but then I also just wanted to... I really wish I could be in the room with Connor when he watches Super Mario Brothers.
I've seen so many like bits and pieces of it. I mean, this is finally...
I have not seen it since I was a small boy. Like, the age where I had a Nintendo original, a gray one. Mm-hmm. I was that age.
Well, yeah, before we go, Kevin, first, thank you for coming on. It was a good time.
Oh, sure, and, I hope I haven't embarrassed anyone.
I don't think so. And do you have anything you want to plug or anything?
Not at the moment. No, I'm just kind of living that life. I'm hoping that I can start up my YouTube channel again and do something there, but that's kind of a TBD sort of thing because I need to get my life in order. Well, not my life in order, but like my creative side in order, which is kind of like herding cats, which is something I also do kind of daily, thanks to Astrid and Cicero. But no, thank you so much for having me on. I really hope I get another chance if you guys do a season 2 or even just want recurring guests. I'd love to come back.
Oh yeah, we're hoping to. I've already had a guest or two say something to me about wanting to come back.
Yeah.
It's a good program you guys have.
It's exciting. I'm glad people like it. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at No Highway Pod and leave a review on your favorite podcast provider of choice or just on iTunes. I think iTunes is the only one that lets you leave reviews, which is strange.
Yeah.
Very strange. But thank you to those who have dropped some reviews already. They've been very generous and very nice. Appreciate it.
We're in the process of getting all of our episodes onto YouTube. At the time of recording this now, we have the Zoom episode is there.
It's up?
Yes. By the time that this airs, it'll be several weeks later, so we should have a few more.
Cool.
And that is just No Highway Option is the name of the channel.
I'm honestly surprised we could get it and didn't have some, like, super political weirdo with it.
Right.
Because that's the at No Highway Option Twitter is some person who's just like MAGA, 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 MAGA all the time. And I'm like, put pod on it.
Unfortunate.
Well, anyway, so that's that. Tune in next week for Super Mario Brothers, the movie. And for No Highway Option, I've been Connor.
And I've been Luke.
And as always, these have been our opinions. And if you didn't agree with them, that's too bad, because it's our way.
No highway
option. It sounded close.
I don't think that's going to be the one.
I think we already had the one. It's just bad for the rest of the time.
Yeah.